Welcome back to Nutrition 101. This course follows Sizer and Whitney's Nutrition, Concepts and Controversies 16th edition, but I've made adjustments by skipping and rearranging some of the material and adding my own images and information. This video covers Chapter 3, The Remarkable Body, which takes us far away from nutrition guidelines, looking instead at the anatomy and physiology required to understand nutrition and health. The learning objectives for this video are to review the body's cells, tissues, organs, and body systems, explore the circulatory, hormonal, and nervous systems, explore the digestive system and learn the fundamentals of digestion and absorption, and explore the excretory system. We begin with an introduction to the body cells. The cell is the smallest unit in which independent life can exist. All living things are single-cell organisms or organisms made of cells. Humans are composed of trillions of cells, and each cell requires nutrients from food to survive. Cells are individual and self-contained, with the cell membrane securing the contents within the cell and protecting it from the unrestricted exchange of materials with the outside world. Each cell contains a complete set of genes, which contain the code to produce proteins that give each cell its unique structure and function. Cells also depend on each other to function and die off at varying rates, emphasizing the importance of maintaining the health of all cells and providing the body with a consistent and adequate supply of nutrients. So, we have a cell. Within the cell's nucleus, we have the chromosomes that contain the DNA, and that DNA contains the genes. Those genes contain the instructions to create proteins, and the proteins that are produced determine the cell's structure and function. Each cell has a complete set of the same genes, but the genes expressed in each type of cell are unique. With that said, there are various types of cells in the body, and they all have a unique structure and function. Examples of cells include muscle cells, intestinal cells, bone cells, blood cells, lung cells, liver cells, nerve cells, and skin cells. From the body cells, we build up to tissues, organs, and body systems. Tissues are groups of cells working together to perform specialized tasks. For example, a muscle cell can't do much on its own, but when muscle cells come together to form muscle tissue, the muscle tissue can contract and support movement, like lifting a heavy object. Then, we have organs, which are structural units made of tissues that perform specific jobs. An example is the heart, which is made of muscle, nerve, and connective tissue, and has the specific job of pumping blood. Finally, a body system is a group of related organs that work together. For example, the digestive system includes the mouth, esophagus, and stomach, among various other organs. Here's an illustration of some major organs in the body, including the brain, thyroid, liver, intestines, bladder, lungs, heart, stomach, pancreas, and kidneys. Here are some examples of body systems. As you can see, these systems typically involve more than one organ or tissue. There are, of course, more organs and body systems than depicted. Okay, that covers the first learning objective. Review the body's cells, tissues, organs, and systems. Now we're going to explore the circulatory, hormonal, and nervous systems to delve deeper into body systems. First up is the circulatory system. The circulatory system is the body system that circulates blood and lymph throughout the body. It consists of the heart, blood vessels, and lymph vessels. It delivers oxygen and nutrients to cells and picks up waste for removal. This is a continuous process, meaning blood and lymph are circulating in their respective vessels at all times, delivering oxygen and nutrients and picking up waste, whether asleep or awake, eating or drinking, or sitting on the couch or exercising. The heart plays a critical role in pumping blood throughout the body. That blood gets carried in the blood vessels, with some vessels dedicated to pumping oxygenated blood away from the heart, and others dedicated to returning deoxygenated blood to it. The lungs are integral in this process since that is where the exchange of oxygen occurs. Then we also have the lymph vessels, which run alongside the blood vessels and branch into tissues. Here's an illustration of the path that blood takes in the body. The blue blood vessels indicate deoxygenated blood. It enters the right side of the heart and gets pumped to the lungs, releasing carbon dioxide in exchange for oxygen. Oxygenated blood is then carried away from the lungs and returns to the heart, which can pump it through the aorta to the rest of the body. The web of blood vessels where the colors mix shows an exchange of oxygen and nutrients for waste in all organs and tissues. The area where the blood passes through the liver and kidneys is of major importance because they help to filter the waste out of it. After the exchange and filtration processes occur, the blood continues its journey back to the heart. Zooming in on the exchange of nutrients in the tissues, we can see how the blood plasma escapes the blood vessels to interact with all of the individual cells. At the same time, waste from the cells enters the blood vessels so it can eventually be filtered and removed from the body. The green structure in this image is a lymph vessel branching off into a tissue. Those small branches flow into a larger system of lymph vessels that eventually deliver their contents to the bloodstream right near where the deoxygenated blood enters the heart. In summary, deoxygenated blood circulates to the lungs, where carbon dioxide is released in exchange for oxygen. Oxygenated blood returns to the heart and is pumped to the rest of the body. As blood travels through the body, the nutrient-rich plasma leaves the blood vessels and delivers oxygen and nutrients to cells. Simultaneously, the blood vessels and lymph vessels collect cellular waste. Finally, blood passes through the liver and kidneys to remove waste products, and deoxygenated blood flows back to the heart. That brings us to the hormonal system. The hormonal system is a network of glands that produce hormones. It's one of the two major communication systems in the body, the other being the nervous system. Each gland monitors a condition in the body and responds to irregularities. Irregularities result in the production of one or more hormones, and a hormone is a messenger that stimulates organs to take corrective action. Put simply, the body functions best under certain conditions, and the hormonal system fights to ensure that the body is constantly operating under those conditions. Glands secrete hormones into the blood vessels, and hormones travel in the blood to the target organ. Blood sugar regulation is a classic example of the hormonal system at play. The body has a blood glucose level that it functions best at. When blood sugar levels rise after a meal, the pancreas senses this and secretes the hormone insulin. Insulin tells the liver and skeletal muscle to take up glucose from the blood and store it for later use, bringing the blood glucose level down to its normal concentration. Then, in between meals, the blood glucose level decreases. The pancreas senses this and produces the hormone glucagon, which tells the liver to release stored glucose into the blood. That release brings the blood glucose back up to its normal level. So, in this example, the condition is the blood glucose level, the gland is the pancreas, and the hormones are insulin and glucagon. Insulin helps to decrease the blood glucose concentration, whereas glucagon helps to increase it. Beyond blood glucose regulation, the hormonal system does affect various aspects of eating and nutrition. It prepares the body for receiving and digesting food. It helps to regulate feelings of hunger and fullness. It influences appetite changes during menstruation and pregnancy. It also influences appetite changes in acute and chronic diseases. The last system we'll look at in this section is the nervous system. The nervous system is a network of nerve cells and fibers that transmit nerve impulses. As mentioned previously, it's the body's other major communication system. It works with the hormonal system to send messages, though it accomplishes this through electrical signals. The brain and spinal cord are the central controllers of the nervous system, and the nervous system's receptors exist throughout the body. The nervous system is responsible for the 5 senses: sight, hearing, touch, smell, and taste. Therefore, it directly connects to the eating experience and related activities like shopping for and preparing food. The nervous system also plays a role in feelings of hunger and fullness, with receptors in the digestive tract sending signals to the brain. For instance, when a person eats and the food reaches the stomach stretch stimulates the nervous system, telling the brain to shut down any hunger signals it has been sending. That concludes the second learning objective. Explore the circulatory, hormonal, and nervous systems. Next, we'll explore the digestive system and learn the fundamentals of digestion and absorption. The digestive system is the most closely linked system to a fundamental understanding of nutrition, so we'll spend the most time discussing it. It's the body system composed of organs that break down complex food particles into smaller, absorbable products. Two of the critical processes to know here are digestion and absorption. Digestion involves breaking larger molecules down into smaller molecules. Absorption occurs when nutrients pass into the cells lining the digestive tract, which is the long, flexible tube through which food and beverages pass. Nutrients are technically only inside the body once they're absorbed. The digestive system includes the digestive tract and accessory organs of digestion. The digestive tract starts at the mouth and ends at the anus, includes organs like the stomach and intestines, and can measure up to 30 feet in length. Accessory organs include the salivary glands, liver, gallbladder, and pancreas. These organs are not part of the digestive tract but sit right outside of it. Their secretions influence digestion and absorption. Here are the organs of the digestive tract. Food and beverages enter the mouth and tongue and are sent down the esophagus to the stomach. Then they travel into the small intestine until they reach the large intestine. By this point, most of the nutrient absorption has occurred. Eventually, the contents of the digestive tract reach the end and get excreted through the anus. The accessory organs are the salivary glands in the mouth and the liver, gallbladder, and pancreas, which sit just outside the small intestine and have access to it. The liver and pancreas both produce secretions that aid in digestion. The gallbladder just stores secretions from the liver. It's helpful to look at these in separate images for learning purposes, but clearly, all of these organs work with and rely on each other to make digestion and absorption possible. Now that we've seen some of the basic anatomy of the digestive system, we'll examine mechanical and chemical digestion in more detail. On the one hand, mechanical digestion is the physical act of breaking down food. It involves movement through the digestive tract with peristalsis, which is a wave-like muscular squeezing caused by the involuntary nervous system. In other words, muscles move food along the digestive tract, and we don't have to think about contracting them. It just happens. On the other hand, chemical digestion relies on the activity of digestive juices to break down food. Digestive juices, which include enzymes, hydrochloric acid, and bile, are produced by the accessory organs, stomach, and small intestine. Enzymes break the bonds that hold carbohydrate, protein, and fat molecules together, reducing them to their smallest pieces so they can be absorbed. Organs associated with mechanical digestion include the mouth, stomach, and small intestine. Chewing and manipulating food in the mouth is essential because it creates smaller pieces that are safe to swallow and easier for the stomach to break down. It also softens sharp edges to create an additional layer of safety for swallowing, and it releases nutrients trapped in the food that may not be freed otherwise. The stomach plays a critical role in mechanical digestion because its muscular structure churns, mixes, and mashes food into a fine paste, adding water and making it thin enough to pass into the much narrower small intestine. Finally, the small intestine continues the mixing and mashing process, exposing the nutrients to chemical compounds that can break them down. Once again, these activities and the movement of contents from the mouth to the anus occur through the action of peristalsis. This muscular squeezing action happens involuntarily. Then, with chemical digestion, the action occurs with saliva, in the stomach, and the small intestine. Saliva contains enzymes that begin the breakdown of carbohydrates and fat. The stomach unwinds proteins with hydrochloric acid and produces an enzyme called pepsin that splits protein molecules. Last but not least, the small intestine receives bile from the liver to emulsify fat, meaning it suspends it in the water-based mixture so enzymes can break it down. It also receives enzymes and bicarbonate from the pancreas. Those enzymes work on the carbohydrate, protein, and fat molecules. At the same time, the bicarbonate helps to neutralize the stomach acid, creating a safe and desirable environment for absorption. The small intestine even produces its own enzymes that help to complete the breakdown of molecules to their smallest pieces so they can be absorbed. That brings us to absorption. Absorption occurs when nutrients leave the digestive tract and enter the cells lining it. The primary site of absorption is the small intestine after most of the mechanical and chemical digestion has occurred and presented nutrients to the intestinal cells in their simplest form. Absorption is an efficient process made possible by the presence of villi and microvilli. These finger-like projections extend from the lining of the intestinal wall to make the surface area much greater than it would otherwise be. After nutrients get absorbed into the intestinal cells, they're sent directly into the blood or lymph. Water-soluble nutrients enter the blood. That includes carbohydrates, protein, minerals, vitamin C, and the B vitamins. Fat-soluble nutrients enter the lymph. That includes fat and vitamins A, D, E, and K. I thought we'd take a closer look at the villi and microvilli to highlight their importance to absorption. Starting from the left, you can see how the villi create a lot more surface area for nutrients to interact with intestinal cells. Each villus contains a multitude of cells where absorption can occur. Moving to the middle, you can see that each villus has blood vessels and a lymph vessel. So when nutrients are passed through the intestinal cell, they can enter the appropriate body fluid for circulation. On the right, you can see how each intestinal cell on every villus has microvilli, creating even more surface area for the intestinal lining. Because of the villi and microvilli, this lining gets called a brush border. By the time the contents in the digestive tract reach the large intestine, nearly all digestion and absorption is complete. The only absorbable nutrients left behind are water and some remaining minerals, which the large intestine is responsible for absorbing. Once they're removed, the result is feces, which is composed of any leftover water that isn't absorbed, indigestible fiber materials from food, bacteria, and cell debris from cells of the intestinal lining that are constantly broken down and regenerated. The large intestine is also home to a rich and diverse population of intestinal bacteria. Those bacteria feed on undigested food substances, and while we often think of bacteria as harmful, intestinal bacteria appear to have a positive effect on human health. They help to maintain the health of the digestive tract and influence the nervous and immune systems. We won't get into any more detail here, but 2 activities of the intestinal bacteria you should know are that by feasting on undigested food substances, they produce energy for intestinal cells to use, and they produce vitamin K and B vitamins that can be absorbed and used throughout the body. Here, you can see the large intestine wraps around the small intestine in nearly a full circle. The contents of the digestive tract enter the cecum, and as they travel through the sections of the colon, water is extracted into circulation to form solid feces with wastes that are to be excreted. The feces eventually reach the rectum, which stretches and stores it. The anus is a muscular section with sphincters that hold it close. The muscles there can open and close the sphincters to selectively release feces from the digestive tract. Putting it all together, you can see how food becomes feces. After the food is pulverized in the stomach, it passes into the small intestine, where the body begins to absorb nutrients. As it makes its way into the large intestine, more nutrients are absorbed, and wastes are collected until we are left with nothing but feces to get rid of. I'll leave you with these charts highlighting the functions of the primary and accessory organs covered in this section. If you would like to take a screenshot, go ahead and do that now. That completes the third learning objective. Explore the digestive system and learn the fundamentals of digestion and absorption. Let's go ahead and knock out number 4. Explore the excretory system. The excretory system is the body system that removes waste products and excess materials. Waste formation is a normal byproduct of metabolic processes. Our cells constantly produce waste while keeping us alive and thriving. Those wastes can be toxic, but typically aren't because we can remove them before they have a chance to build up. Organs of excretion include the skin, lungs, liver, large intestine, and kidneys. Urination and defecation are major waste removal processes and require the normal function of several organs. The kidneys filter the blood and produce urine. The liver filters the blood and packages waste products in bile, which we saw gets released into the small intestine. And the anus relaxes to release feces from the rectum. Here are images of skin tissue and lung tissue. On the left side, you can see that the skin tissue has sweat glands alongside the blood vessels. Waste and excess materials can escape the blood vessels and be released through the skin as sweat. On the right side, you can see the alveolar sacs in the lungs, where carbon dioxide is exchanged for oxygen. That carbon dioxide is toxic if the body is unable to release it. Turning to the large intestine and kidneys, we have the rectum and anus on the left side. The rectum stores the feces and the muscular anus opens and closes to release it. The kidneys sit just above the bladder. As they filter the blood and create urine, it flows through the ureter to be stored in the bladder before urination occurs. The waste products in feces and urine are numerous and variable. Both contain water since there's only so much water the body can hold and use at once. The feces are also composed of fiber, bacteria, cell debris, intestinal secretions, and bile. Urine is composed of urea and creatinine, which are produced in the body as part of protein and muscle metabolism, as well as electrolytes like chloride, potassium, and sodium. That completes the fourth learning objective. Explore the excretory system, bringing us to the end of the lesson. If you want to check out parts of the chapter that weren't covered, here are the sections I recommend.